Welcome to the Denton Vibe with Diva Girl Ellie, powered in part by Classic of Denton.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us here on the Denton Vibe with Diva Girl Ellie on DentonRadio.com. We are here in the studio trying to keep cool. It is a hot one out there today. So whatever you're doing, I hope you're having a great time and keeping cool out there. Today we have some special guests here. We have Adam and Tom. Thank you so much, Adam, for joining us. Tom, thank you for joining us here in studio. We are going to talk about all the things you guys are getting into here in Denton, and we are going to talk about poetry tonight. It's one of my favorite subjects here in Denton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we got a lot to talk about, and it's not just going to be poetic, but we'll get into a few of the other things that you guys are involved with. But first, we want to get to know who Adam and Tom are. So I'm going to put you guys in the hot seat for a hot second.
Tom?
Tom, there you go. Adam, take it away.
Same time.
So tell me who you guys are as far as it being a Dentonite. How did you get here?
Well, I think a lot of people get here because of school. I definitely got here because of the music school.
Mm-hmm.
And I still go to North Texas. I'm an Alpha, like Omega senior. I'm still
Nice.
I'm out of school getting money so I can go back.
Nice.
But other than that, school also brought me to poetry too. So I think just having such a great university at UNT is like really beneficial to most people who hang out in Denton, because really that library is packed too with like a lot of music. Like the music library is intense. Like,
really?
it has like really obscure things that you really wouldn't think they would have, but they really do have.
Really? I'm going to have to go check that out.
Yeah, and it's all public, so it's
nice. You're going to have to tell me when the hot days are to go, because I would love to go scout out some more talent for the show and stuff. And I want to crack into UNT's artistic community in there so we can bring some really awesome people on the show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely let me know. So what else? Have you done anything there yourself, like when you're in the student or in the library?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess, like, I don't hang out much in the library other than, like, printing stuff. And because, like, I like to just kind of, like, check to see what they have. And I like, if there is, like, something I really can't find, like, to purchase, like, I'll go to the library. And they do have a lot of really cool stuff. Like, they have, like, all of Chaucer, like, from, like, the monographs of, like, the original. And so it's, like, giant and ridiculously lugubrious. But it's, like, if you really wanted to go back to the source of Chaucer, you could do that.
There you go. There's a hidden treasure in there somewhere.
For sure, for sure.
And so, aside from school, what is it like to be Adam in Denton?
Boring.
No, I doubt that.
Not to be me, but to be in Denton, it's definitely fun. I mean, like, you don't have you're not short on community. There's somebody out there, a community out there for everyone.
Yes.
Maybe not somebody.
There's just one person for each person in Denton to hang out with and be their BFF for life.
Only one. We don't have room for any more.
That's it. You cannot take more than one. Everybody needs one. What about you, Tom? Oh, he's like, hold on. Let me take a drink here. That's water, by the way.
Just so we're clear. Well, I actually didn't come to Denton for school. I was I was just sort of couch surfing in Dallas. Yeah.
That's a sport.
It definitely can be.
Yeah, it definitely can be a sport here in Denton too.
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't know that many people in Denton, but there's a friend of mine, Taylor Teachat. She knew somebody who like had a place that's like really cheap and like all bills paid kind of thing. So.
Oh yeah, and you landed in Denton.
Yeah.
Now, how long have you guys been here?
I've been here for 5 years.
5 years? And where are you originally from?
I'm from Arlington, Texas.
Okay, so you're still Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, anywhere outside of the U.S., from a tropical island that we don't know about? I'm always looking for people that are from
It was funny. You can really honestly put any your origin on Facebook, and people will believe it. Like, I remember in high school, I used to have it on Montreal, and everybody was like, "You're from Montreal?" And it's like, no.
That's how writing got so creative, right? It was the beginning of your creative writing.
And we're lying about things.
So are you from Dallas? Are you from Denton? Or
originally I'm from Wichita Falls.
There you go.
But I got out of there as quick as I could after high school.
And now you're here with all the cool people,
exactly,
right?
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm not going. So are you in school right now, or are you just hanging out in Denton doing your poetic thing?
Just being a poet.
There you
like,
go.
That's literally all I'm doing.
Hey, that's a hard job to be a poet.
Yeah.
You gotta really put some stuff down.
Exactly.
So it's a very creative process. I have a respect for it because it is. People who are poets, you have a lot of people that are that travel for poetry, and they're constantly running the circuit of poetry. You would think that something so, a lot of times people think of poetry as very, subtle art or something very calm, and there's a flip side to poetry. You guys know going to a slam is a different world altogether.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Like open mics are really important, I think, just for the people who can't like when they either their material like doesn't fit in the popular sense, like it doesn't really have like
it's niche.
And you can also use that time to like sort of like see how an audience reacts to your work.
Definitely.
And, sort of like, was that the reaction that I meant, or was that like, you can work on, I don't know. There's a lot of things to like work on, especially through open mic. So I really like admire the people that like go across the country.
Yeah.
Like John Dorsey, is that his name?
Yep.
Yeah. It seems like he just like goes around the town, just like to every open mic he can, and like
there's so
as you said,
many.
like a circuit.
Yeah,
he
there
literally
are.
lives off his poetry.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Lives at art residencies for free room and board, off poetry, and like
that's
knows
awesome.
all the places to go to and all the people to know. And,
yeah, like it's the same way. Like you have to work really hard if you want to make a living in music or poetry or any of the creative work. You really do have to do a lot of work, and you have to like be willing to sacrifice a lot of things.
Yes, I've noticed that a lot of the people that now that I've started to come across, some of the people that we have in common as well, mutually, they're either literally running the gamut of poetry, and they're putting books out. They're publishing stuff, and the more and more I get involved in stuff, whether it just be in attendance or just talking to people, the more I realize more people are publishing their works, which is really cool, because I would say not too far off in the past, people were not publishing so easily, and now we have it, I guess, not readily available, but very available,
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think the internet helps too.
I mean,
like
you've got the
spaces.
zine culture too that's come out of poetry, as well as any other kind of art topic or whatever their zines are, popular at the moment. But poetry and zines, which I still want to get into and still want to do as far as a project and stuff, but there's so many things to do. I know you guys are heavily involved with so many things poetic. I know, Tom, you're working with
I know everybody.
Yes. I mean, it's
Meet
like
Me with Curiosity.
Yes, you're working with Meet Me with Curiosity with Paul and Reverie. Shout out to Paul and Reverie. They are awesome.
They are. Yeah.
Alejandra. So
She's great.
yes, there's so many people, and we're going to name drop a lot of people because so many people have been influential to either working as a team member or as an inspiration to it, even to me. I mean, I'm inspired when when you do Lost Poet Lounge, it's one thing to be able to produce a show and have the lineup, and here's the topic, and we're going to put this together. Here's the location, and here's the added sparkle, But then when you go out as a performer, I'm so thankful that, I get to go and perform with Meet Me with Curiosity or with Spiderweb Salon. So it's exciting to me because that's the flip side for me. Usually when I'm doing Lost Poet Lounge, it's all come on,
business.
it is. It is.
Yeah,
so what do you do with Meet Me with Curiosity, Tom?
Well, I help them out with planning things and deciding how to what people to invite for what month, and like how to plan the social media and whatnot. And every now and then when the weather's pretty good, I do a little bit of music to introduce things. So
yeah, we it reminds me of the last show I went to with Meet Me with Curiosity.
Super cold. Yeah.
It was not super cold, Adam. It was Arctic. I'm always cold, and I arrived it was at Clyde Warren Park.
You had a blanket too. That's
No,
right.
I had 5 blankets. I wanted all 5 blankets for me because I'm always freezing. Everybody always gives me a hard time. And I arrived with 5 blankets, and everyone there looked at me like, oh my God, my savior. And I was like, I'm not sharing my blankets. I'm not. And then I sat down, and everybody was like shaking. I'm like, darn it, I got to share my blankets. No, I had to. There were so many people freezing that day. It was a lot of fun, though. That's one for the books. Yeah. We're all 3 of us were there. So what about the other stuff you guys are involved in? How did you get into poetry?
It was just kind of practical with me, I guess. I got injured in school, so I had to lay a year off of playing music, which was really kind of personally traumatizing.
Yeah.
But just not having that support system that you like go do every day. But so I picked up another major to sort of distract until I could re-audition and go back into the school.
Okay.
And so I did English, and it was just kind of fell upon me in the same way that I guess I was trying to analyze a lot of Tom Waits lyrics, because I knew I could play his songs on the piano, I could do that, but I couldn't really understand why he was choosing to write the things that he was writing. So I started getting into modernism as I guess I was like 19 or 20.
Yeah.
So I'm an old.
As every good teen does. Yeah.
For sure. So I started getting into, I guess, the modernism that still has like a lot of not that the other stuff doesn't, but it does speak a lot to our current situation.
Yeah, it does.
But yeah, so I just started getting into poetry that way, and I started opening up all these unexpected doors between like anthropology and like all these other like hard sciences that are still, I guess, I don't know if anthropology is considered hard
science.
Or
Social sciences.
Yeah, so there you go.
So part humanistic, part what they call it, quantified. No, I don't know. I used to be a part psych major.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, so I guess I was just kind of, and I took a philosophy class, and that's really important to. Like all the pre-Socratics are really important to opening up T.S. Eliot's like
I
imagery.
love the pre-Socratic.
Yeah, they're really interesting. Just like ancient, it's like almost, it's not prehistory, but it's pre-philosophy. Before philosophy became institutionalized, and so it's really, really interesting just to like see all of the sort of animism that like these philosophers are basing their logic on. They're like, oh well, since we like see rocks, we must like have lights that shoot out of our eyes for us to see that rock. And it's like, no, you self-absorbed Greek. It's light bounces off and enters into your hollow eyes.
You are empty.
And there is poetry in that. You write about that.
No, for sure. Yeah, I think definitely just getting an idea of like what state your world is in. Like obviously like you have your like subjective reality, like how you feel and how you think, but then there's the world around you that creates how you think and why you think. And so all these things, you're in a way you're predisposed to all these anyway, so you might as well talk about those things that make you predisposed than sort of fight.
It's a weird cycle, isn't it?
It is.
It is.
And I think that's what poetry is. You're just sort of like trying to recognize that predisposition and sort of like if injustices have happened, then you try to bring them up and sort of request justice or, however way you use your poetry.
I know a lot of people use their poetry as a voice for whatever is going on, and respectfully, a lot of people are very passionate about certain things, and that's great. And, I really believe that when you're in front of an audience with poetry, a lot of times when you're talking about those experiences as a person, this is my poetry, this is what happened, this is an experience I had, it kind of bridges the gap. It's totally different than what, you see on TV. Right. What you see on TV is TV. What you see on TV is, there's the news. But when you put a person in front of another person and they're completely different and opposite people, it bridges that gap in a way to be able to say, you know what, this is a real human being. This is someone who doesn't believe what I believe in, but they're real, and I see the emotion, whatever that may be. So I think it's a blessing to be able to communicate that way without sitting down, having coffee, and debating. It's a way to be able to
firing line.
Yeah. So I feel
brings in the whole person.
Yes, it does. And so I have much respect for you guys when you perform, and you obviously there's an array of topics that you guys have performed before. I've heard you perform, so I mean, how did you get into poetry, Tom?
How did I get in poetry?
Yeah.
Like, right. What do you mean by that?
Well,
exactly?
how did you start, like, hey, I love writing, or this person influenced me, or you just, a lot of people write things down when they want to filter those emotions out that people, don't want to talk about to
Yeah.
anyone else. So it just depends. How did you get into
Well, I think so. Sometime first time I like thought of poetry as and like doing it was in middle school. I think I was one of those weird kids who loved Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah.
Is
He
it-
was always very crazy.
well, we have similar minds.
Somehow I believe that, Tom.
The
The conversation we had earlier. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I'm glad we talked about what we can't mention on the radio before this. Anyway, but yeah, around that time, so I started out, I didn't really differentiate poetry from like novels and like literary stuff, you know. It was like, a very immature kind of mindset, but like, I don't know, I had always, I thought I saw a power in putting your emotions on paper in a way that like evokes things for other people.
Yes, it does.
It
Really does. And I know that a lot of times when I'm a spectator in poetry, and I love watching everyone, I do. It's just it's powerful,
Yeah.
Speaking of, recently we did the radio poets for Spiderweb Salon, and sitting in there, it was very, very powerful stuff. You guys check it out, and if you get a chance, go check it out. I posted those in the Spiderweb Salon link page for that event. But some people will surprise you, and you're like, oh, I would have never thought that this person had this type of voice, or these kind of emotions, and you're left in awe with you gain an admiration. It's just amazing. It's always surprising me because a lot of it is relevant to our world today. We're all in it. So, it's just, I want to hear some of your poetry now. So we could stop talking about it. Let's see if you want to kick it off, Adam.
I'll
And
kick it off.
we're going to have these guys perform some pieces here live on the Denton Vibe with Diva Girl Ellie.
I guess, do you want to do it back and forth? Like, I read one, you read one?
Yeah, definitely.
So I guess
sounds good.
this one was the first one I published with North Texas Review.
Nice.
And it's a short one, but it's like a self-reflection. I guess I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
You beg me for honesty, yet you demand entertainment. Won't you take my word for even a cigarette's light? I want to whistle with you tonight, walk beside your pocket knife, and to be cut short, I'd measure every straw. But you've switched off the lights, and the sky looks like a dark glass screen. Alone together, we can only see ourselves, shivering stars from such astronomical distance, and I know why. The dark matters.
Yeah.
Thanks,
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's your traditional poetic
Yeah,
clap.
exactly.
Yeah, the poetic
Some people
snap.
the poet snap.
I think that was a beat thing, right?
Yeah. For horn players.
Wait. Oh shoot. Okay. PTS. It's hard to gauge exactly what "you need to see a counselor" really means. Same goes for "I'm not angry, just concerned," and "How are you?" said in an unusual inflection. Hearing any of those puts you on a balancing act, a nightmarish teeter-totter between gratitude and perturbation, and you begin to truly see the distance at which you are held. You become aware of the separation that has long been made and realize no armor or nakedness will suffice. The personas of your pain have become the definitions of a problem to other people, and your skin has become a symbol of all they'd rather not touch, and you feel full of hopelessness that you cannot change their perspective or leave your own guilt. So you run into images that will tell you something you do not already know, one more piece of the mosaic that might make everything feel in place as time waves by in its echoes, which are the ways your friends have changed, the unreality of the present years, the memories that just won't stick, and the ones that always leave a residue, however pungent, wherever you last tried to let them go and failed. Though you keep experiencing the feeling that pictures cannot be food, you cannot stop and will easily starve yourself for a promise whose fulfillment you hope one day to understand. And once you have seen the end of the visions you have set for yourself, and let the revelations cascade through your blood, and once again understand why you did the things you did the way you did, what you told yourself, and what turned out to be true, you feel just as empty as before, and understand why you wanted to forget in the first place. Your heart cannot relent from its obsession with the circle, your brain cannot confess what must be said, and the stomach cannot be filled by pills and skills and hope. So you wait for your will to rise to your want, knowing most of the time it will not, and cherishing every moment that it does. As an olive branch you give yourself for every time you've happened to be a foot ahead of everything that's tried to capture you. Sometimes you hear the voice that spoke a peace in you during your moments of deepest despair. Sometimes you do not. And sometimes you only hear the violence of your justifications for wanting to not exist. Sometimes you only hear how alone you are, and it will make you do almost anything. So hold on to every word, so you hold on to every word, you hold on to every word and look. Every time someone noticed you, hugged you, opened their doors, gave you a bed or a floor, a beer or a Moscow mule, a book and a friend request, and then you ride the pangs of any of those doors being closed through the steepest valley of resilience and insecurity, to find the truth that some things trauma has not transformed, but simply exaggerated, to the point that it cannot be clear to yourself or others until it is too late. Your stories get sewn together, you become chimera made of beasts you could not quite make out, but whose presence you could feel. And as you try to lie still in the darkness of your cave, dreaming of peace hanging in the air of your next breath, your nightmare is Bellerophon, her back straight and tall, her chin stiff, as she sits with proper form on her bright winged steed, piercing you with the javelin of everything she thinks you need to hear.
Wow.
Yes.
That was powerful.
Thanks.
Thank you for sharing that. Now, one of the things that I've noticed about you, and you've actually mentioned it before, was that you write your poetry in your book and you go backwards.
Yeah.
So I think that's really unique. And I'm sitting here watching you turn your pages, and I'm like, I would mess that up. So I admire that little nuance about you as a poet. You
Oh, yeah,
go,
sure.
Yeah, do
Let's
another
one.
one.
I guess I want to keep it.
Thank you so
Heavy.
much for sharing
Sorry.
this stuff. No, it's fine.
I think that was the only one related to the previous one. I don't know. It seemed to fit at the time. Yeah.
We'll make a program as we go.
Yeah. Spontaneous program.
Yeah.
This one is called Lost Poet Quantifying Suffering.
Yeah.
And I wrote it for the Lost Poet Lounge, like right before I got to that thing.
Yes.
But here it goes. Lost poet, quantifying suffering. Our pain does not belong in some order, rich with hunger. Lost poet, looking out at the slouching city from the overpass, where privileges of bridges cast great shadows of machinery of men and commerce against our secret fire burning from behind the quilt of clouds. Lost poet, who has never written a word, reads the silence of our son's face, reflecting the image of our father, the ignorance of emotion, the twisted hands, our childhood wrapped round the belt of days the nights leave us to remember. Do we have what we think we have? Family with a common language, a private history that only we can inhabit, or the inward ancient darkness that hangs above the suburbs of our city. And each step further across the arc of this path, the white concrete grasps for more, leaps higher, for our children are not sleeping when the saints enter their classrooms with iron rods. Lost poet, living mother of our history, buried underneath the fence of liberty and taste, we limp just to dream of you. Yet each life we are reaching for you, but we squint for the light, and the exhaust of revolutions of breath turn against that primordial darkness that fumbles across the distant sky.
So you guys are very special to me because you guys are lost poets in my eyes, and y'all also share the platform with Spiderweb and meet me with Curiosity. So I admire you guys very much so, and I'm very honored that you would write about the Lost Poet Lounge or Lost Poets in the sense of in you from your person.
admire you too.
Well, thank you. I
You're
appreciate
awesome.
that. Thank you. I think the same thing about you guys. So what do you guys tell someone who is interested in poetry out there? Because obviously we have so many people like, you know, Paul, Alejandra, Reverie, Courtney Marie. All of those people are so influential in the
Nadia
community.
Misty.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're all influential, and there's so many more that I haven't met that I'm just eager to find. You
Right.
know, the more I share, you know, as far as going to things and stuff, the more amazing people I meet, and I'm sure you guys have the same experience. You know, one of my favorite poetic memories was when we did the unequal pay at Dan Silverleaf,
Oh yeah.
and I ended up sitting outside with people I had no idea, can I sit here? And it was, you know, just people attending. And it ended up being a really memorable night because there was just a bunch of people sitting at the table after a few minutes, and we were all laughing. You know, it's just Denton. That's what Denton's about. So what would you tell people as far as breaking into getting involved with poetry? It's not just what people imagine, you know, oh, it's, you know, this and that, and it's very different. I think the culture, poetic culture, is very, very dynamic.
For sure.
Yeah.
I would definitely just recommend reading, like, so much, like, that you could never not be reading. And
It
then
is important.
not being afraid, I guess, to just to talk to people. And
People are more welcoming than you think they are.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and also, like, with like artists that you like, parts of their work that you like, don't be afraid to interact with that, like, directly. Like, don't be able, and don't be afraid to name names. Like, don't call people names, because that's just you're wasting your own time.
Yeah.
But, like, figure out who they are and what your subject is. And I don't know, like, I guess I really think just, like, quoting authors even in your own work and just taking just a tiny bit, just so you can know how to communicate to your audience better. Because, I don't know, I feel like those are just really, I feel like people are always afraid to try to sort of associate themselves with other people's work, and it's like, no, you can, and you just gotta just do it. So I
Just a
definitely
tidbit.
yeah, exactly.
Take a little piece.
Like, don't plagiarize,
Yeah.
but definitely, like, interact with the poetic tradition.
Yeah,
and
you can
all
bounce off
poets.
each other.
Yeah.
And it is, you do get inspired. Like I said, you're inspired by other poets, and, you know, you learn from them, and then that's art. You know, art is that way too. You see someone, you like it, and you're like, that style vibes with me.
Oh, for sure.
So you create your
Yeah.
own of it. And so, so what are you guys up to as far as events? Any events coming up? Poetry? Where can people find you? What if somebody wants to, you know, get involved with poetry and they really vibed with your poetry tonight? Where can they come see you or find you on social media? Where would that happen?
Well, I have Facebook. It's like, you can just add me as a friend, Adam S. Mahout. And I'm in 2 bands.
3. Don't
Yeah,
lie, Adam.
That's true.
He's
About
in
Hot
3.
Mess.
We are Hot Mess.
Well, then it would be 4.
Yes. We have never
I see what you're
practiced,
saying.
but we are Hot Mess right here. We will one day.
You were experiencing it. Yeah.
But yeah, Jay Allert is this folk pop group that I play for. Joel Honor is the lead songwriter, and Adrian Wallace is the main singer there. And both of them are really great. And I play for Ditch Prince, drums for Ditch Prince, and they do like a fusion pop, alt pop thing.
Nice.
And Greg Campos is the lead singer of that. And so, yeah, if you want to see me play live music, why not do that?
Yeah, that too.
Check out those
We're not
folks.
just poets here, right?
Right, yeah. No, I think
Multi-talented.
Yeah.
poets are always like a hodgepodge of different skills. It's just like,
Definitely.
I can fix your car.
But
But I can't, like, garden worth a dang.
What about you, Tom?
So I have a Facebook, Farris. And I mean I play. So I actually play three different instruments. But I don't play with anybody yet.
Yes, you do, Tom.
Except for
Hot mess. We had our debut at Wine Square. Come on.
we did, yeah. Oh,
There's
I'm
a picture
sorry.
floating around.
I told you I've been having memory problems.
We're gonna remind you. We're hitting up karaoke soon, guys. Okay?
We should.
No, seriously.
But I go to Renegade Voices a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a open mic in Fort Worth.
Nice.
Yeah, run
Dang,
by.
you travel.
Yeah. Oh no, I feel like I know the main poetry people in like Denton, Dallas, and
Yeah,
Fort
you
Worth.
do. Yeah,
Yeah.
you do. Yeah, you do. You run the gamut too, so definitely. Well, you guys, thank you so much for being here and sharing your poetry. I know there's people that are tuning in, and you guys make sure you share, support local. This is a big deal. Sharing, liking, commenting, and following even, hey, we need that kind of support. Thank you for being here and for being a part of my life in the poetic sense and just friendship and whatnot. So I'm so glad you guys were here. I was so excited to have both of y'all here. And now we can go eat.
Yeah, right?
So thank you guys for joining us on the Denton Vibe with Diva Girl Ellie here on Denton Radio. We will see you next week.
Well, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to check out DentonRadio.com for new Denton artists and where they're playing next. While you're surfing the internet, make sure you check out our friends Classic of Denton at ClassicofDenton.com.